Estamos a punto de comenzar nuestra sesión de hoy del encuentro creativo. Entonces, todos listos y preparados para comenzar. Comenzaremos a las 11:03. Ya pasamos la primera llamada. A las 11:02 pasamos la segunda llamada. Segunda. Sigan tomando sus lugares. Prepárense para comenzar. Todavía hay lugares hasta adelante, por favor, si alguien quiere pasar. Gracias. Ya vi que ya los están llenando. Estamos a punto de comenzar con el encuentro creativo del día de hoy. ¿Todos listos? Acabo de oír que acaba de llegar otro vehículo con más invitados. Entonces ya están entrando. Y ya tengo a Chiara con la mano levantada. Son las 11:03. Y con eso estamos listos para comenzar nuestra sesión del encuentro creativo del día de hoy. Para comenzar tenemos un video informativo de uno de nuestros partners. ¡Corre video!
Hola, soy Vanessa Guillermo, consultora educativa de Class Education. Nos dedicamos al turismo educativo internacional. En esta ocasión les voy a platicar de uno de nuestros destinos más populares, que es Italia, en el cual contamos diferentes programas como son idiomas, campamentos, entre otros. Manejamos diferentes destinos como es Florencia, Milán, Trieste, Tropea, en fin, tenemos un abanico de opciones muy bueno para ti. Por eso te invito a que agendes una asesoría virtual conmigo para poder platicar más a detalle en relación al programa, destino, fecha de viaje y presupuesto. Será un placer apoyarte en este proyecto y concretar tu sueño. Vanessa Guillermo, Class Education.
Asimismo, el encuentro creativo es una iniciativa de la Embajada de Italia a través del excelentísimo señor Luigi de Chiara y la Embajada de Italia a través de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana con su presidente Lorenzo Vianello, su directora Fariba Gallardo, es quienes hacen posible junto con todo el equipo que trabajamos para ustedes este encuentro entre dos naciones. Así que unas palabras del excelentísimo señor embajador.
Soy Luigi de Chiara, embajador de Italia en México. Soy muy feliz de presentar Encuentro Creativo con la presentación de la oferta formativa de estas instituciones académicas en el campo de las industrias creativas italianas. Queremos ofrecer a todos los mexicanos no solo la posibilidad de mejorarse de un punto de vista técnico, sino también de saber dónde van las tendencias, cómo se ha construido el éxito del Made in Italy.
En la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México estamos honrados de poder promover la oferta académica italiana entre los estudiantes mexicanos. Durante la primera edición, en las 2 semanas del evento, tuvimos más de 2.000 alumnos participantes y logramos un alcance en redes sociales de más de 1 millón de personas. Este proyecto nos brinda la oportunidad de acercar México e Italia, dos naciones amigas y que tienen muchísimo que ofrecer en materia de creatividad y diseño. Disfruten de todas las actividades que hemos planeado en coordinación con las mejores universidades de diseño que hay en Italia y junto con las marcas que nos apoyan en esta iniciativa.
Bienvenidos a esta segunda edición de Encuentro Creativo, que te permitirá conocer más acerca de la oferta académica que la capital de la moda y el diseño ofrece, Italia. Por favor, síguenos a lo largo de las conferencias de Encuentro Creativo. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenido.
Pues Pues bueno, el día de hoy vamos a estar hablando de Sustainability and Circular Economy, la sustentabilidad y la economía circular, con un tema que va a ser, ya ven que hay Pleistoceno, Cretáceo, o sea, una serie de épocas que inclusive son geológicas. Entonces, en esta ocasión vamos a estar hablando de la introducción al Antropoceno, esta época que se supone que la actividad humana ha transformado todo el entorno y ha inclusive impactado en la ecología, el impacto de las actividades humanas en la Tierra, el aumento de la temperatura y el cambio climático. Entonces, esto particularmente lo ambiental y lo social en la industria de la moda, como a partir de su democratización en el siglo XX, la influencia de las redes sociales y el auge del comercio electrónico en el XXI, impulsó la sobreproducción y el sobreconsumo. Los recursos de la Tierra son limitados, que es la economía circular, y si pudiéramos gestionar estos recursos en bucle, entonces, a partir de las teorías de Ellen MacArthur, un modelo de negocio lineal a uno circular es por donde debemos transitar. Para hablar de todo ello está hoy con nosotros Chiara Tronville. Chiara Tronville es periodista de moda y estilo de vida, creadora de contenidos, curadora y panelista. Su trabajo se centra en la sustentabilidad, el talento emergente y la innovación del sector. Con más de 16 años, o sea, 17 de experiencia en el periodismo de moda, Chiara Tronville ha cultivado una amplia red de contactos que le ha permitido conocer las nuevas tendencias y los temas más importantes de la industria. Cuenta con una visión creativa y orientada a resultados. Ha demostrado claramente su capacidad para resolver y entregar resultados. Recientemente ha reforzado su conocimiento estudiando gestión de la sostenibilidad empresarial en la Universidad de Cambridge. Entonces, pues toma la palabra precisamente Chiara Tronville y muchísimo gusto, bienvenida y todo tuyo.
Okay, hi, I just switched the language. I'm sorry, I'm speaking English. I can understand Spanish. Thank you so much for the introduction, Gustavo. And welcome everyone to this webinar. It's absolutely a pleasure. I mean, the introduction was quite long because it's a huge topic. It's quite complex, I would say. And it's a total pleasure sharing this time with you today. Talking about sustainability and circularity as a responsible new business model that is positively impacting on both the environment and society. I will start with a brief introduction about the state of things and why we need to improve sustainability in our lives and economies, and I will go on analyzing the relationship between the fashion system and the negative impact that is having on the planet and unfortunately also many people. We will go through circularity, circular economy as a good systemic and much more efficient approach that is helping, first of all, eliminating waste and regenerate natural resources. I mean, this 1 hour, 50 minutes is a very short time, so forgive me if I'm not going very deep. But I hope that after this short talk, you can better understand these topics and maybe being passionate about them. So I will share my screen. Okay, I share the screen. Sorry, here I share, and here we are. We start with our little presentation. Just trying to understand. Okay, we all know that human activities, they have affected the system on Earth, and there are the Earth has a change, rainfall patterns, and sea levels are rising. Climate change is more and more visible. We're all wondering at this point if there is still a chance for humanity to regenerate nature, finding a way to build a better future. Obviously, you see a very bad picture. We all need to take action at this point, but we cannot be naive. I mean, the growth is not the answer. We must find a solution that is economically sustainable. So we start talking about the first concept, sustainability. What does it mean, sustainability? An early definition of sustainability is from 1987, when the United Nations Brundtland Commission defined sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So the present, us, the humanity, this moment, and the future, the next generation. sustainability is putting together these two elements with a filter of awareness and respect. So our future is involved. From this definition, it is clear that sustainable development is deeply linked to a vision that is considering the next generations as a strategic long-term vision. Today, there are almost 140 developing countries in the world seeking ways to meet their development needs, but with the increasing threat of climate change. I mean, I'm in Milan, and we experienced a terrible summer with an increase of temperature, and we didn't have the usual rain, so we are facing, even in an area where we didn't have problems before, an urgency about a very emergency about water. So it's something that is happening in every part of the world, and this is a problem right now. We need to take action about this now, but we also have to think about the next generation. So finding solution able to regenerate the resources of the planet, stopping climate change. Sustainable development. The Sustainable Development Goals form the framework for improving the lives of populations around the world and mitigating the hazardous man-made effects of climate change. It's impossible talking about sustainable development without the 17 goals that they were adopted by the UN member states in 2015 as part of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I'm sure that you already heard about that and about the goals, but here we are with the 17 sustainable goals. I mean, all the things that we have to face to improve the quality of life of humanity through the filter of sustainability, from the no poverty at the first goal, of course, about food, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, also affordable and clean energy, and of course, decent work and economic growth. Also industry, innovation, infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production. This is the main goal related to the fashion industry, of course, but fashion industries is relating, we will see that, to many of them. Climate action, life below water, the ocean, is so important for our ecosystem, and also life on land. It means by defending biodiversity. Peace, justice, and strong institution. We are facing also a war in Europe. So these goals, that they seem to be so basic, that absolutely not. And last but not least, partnerships for reaching the goals. Partnerships are absolutely important, and they are an element that is very, very essential in the circular economy, because without putting together all the knowledge we reached and without having like a synergy of the system, we cannot find solution effective. So we go on and we see that we have a problem, because we are working on that. We should reach this goal in we are in 2022, so in 8 years. They seem to be quite far away, and at the same moment we're struggling, because the ecosystem of the planet is really in danger. Our economies consume too many resources and they pollute too much. For example, in 2022, this year, Earth Overshoot Day fell just on July 28th. Maybe you heard of Earth Overshoot Day, which is the day that marks the date when humanity basically has finished the budget of resources for the year. So it means that for the rest of the year, we are increasing our ecological deficit. So this is a big, huge problem. And every year is just becoming worse and worse. What about fashion? after we spoke about these development goals, and we see that fashion honestly could do a lot for reaching these goals, because there are about 60 million people working in the fashion industry in the planet. 80% of them are women. So decent work and economic growth, of course, are important, and also good health and well-being, because health and safety regulation in the industry, in the textile industry and the garment factory, are not respected in many, unfortunately, in many cases. And also no poverty. How many people are working in the fashion industry that they live in poor country and they live in a bad condition without a fair wage, but also without the condition for the education, and also about the insurance, about the health insurance. And also about gender equality, there is also to talk about that. And these are just the social side, because there is all the environmental side about fashion. So the ocean, biodiversity, emissions, there are so many the topics, and now we're seeing some of them, because unfortunately the fashion industry, I have to say, we all know, I think, that is everything but sustainable. Yeah, we have an elephant in the room, because fashion is one of the most impactful industries on earth, both on an environmental side, but also on the social level, as we said, so on both sides. But why is fashion so harmful for the environment, and why fashion is so bad for some people and for some workers? To explain this, we have to do a little bit of analysis of what happened in the last decades. Because in the last decades, we had witnessed the delocalization of production, and fashion went global. So with cheaper and faster production. I want to tell you something, because clothes shopping used to be an occasional event, something that happened a few times in a year, or when the season was changing, or when we were just thinking that we didn't have enough clothes in our wardrobe. But it was something that it was also satisfying, because it was happening regularly, but not every day. I mean, it was quite conscious. But in the last 20 years, maybe some of you are very young, so they don't remember this. But in the last 20 years, something changed. And it was a big revolution, because clothes became cheaper, and trend cycle sped up, and shopping became, for us, for humans, just like an hobby. This is bad, because basically you're buying an item for a cheap price, but if you're not paying enough, it means that someone else is paying that cost. It could be the environment of the people, or the people that just they sue it. So there was kind of we can call it a democratization of fashion, and big chain like Zara, you can see here Primark, you can see H&M, you can see Shein, the last giant. They just became so powerful. They just also more profitable, because moving the production in the poor countries with the cost of labor so low, gave them much more profits and much more revenue. And they were also smart in becoming faster and faster, following the trends on the catwalk, copying items, good items of creativity, the product of creativity, and just putting them in a very fast chain. So they also pushed the consumers with new object of desires, cheap, to consume much more. Another thing, social networks and e-commerce revolution. Yeah, also this just contributed in this crazy time we're living, because with the social network we were able just to share everything, to care about our look, looking for picture opportunities. In 2010 there was just the rise of Instagram, just to remind you this, and then there was also the rise of e-commerce from the 2000. I would say in Italy Luisa Via Roma was the first historical shop just betting on the e-commerce, and it was a good bet. Today they're making more than 90% of the revenue just with the online. So there were not so many people betting on the e-commerce and fashion, because maybe when you're buying fashion you think that you must experience something physical, some emotion touching the fabrics, but at the end, we're lazy people, and through the digitalization and then also the pandemic, also the e-commerce really exploded. So at the end of the day, also exceeding the content, seeing catwalks, the fashion show in streaming, we were able also to know just by ourselves all the trends. So to define what we want immediately. That's also the thing. We are not waiting for anything anymore. Before, fashion was producing things in a cycle of 6 months, from the fashion show to the shops. That was completely disrupted by the fast fashion chain. So, crazy rhythms, big volumes to lower the cost per items, of course, for the chains. More and more collections at all the levels to invite consumers to buy. So not just for fast fashion, but also for the high, fashion luxury brand, because they started to have not just the traditional spring, summer and fall winter collection, but also having pre-collection and also doing a big communication of the events, and then also doing some other spots of collaborations with other brands, or just capsule collections. So there was there is a huge amount of collection that are just going out every second. Even luxury brands, I said, follow fast fashion rhythm, and Giorgio Armani, during pandemic, about this topic, wrote an open letter to Women's Wear Daily, WWD, which is a business-to-business magazine, the Bible of fashion for people that are working in fashion. He wrote this letter saying, the beginning of the end started when us, the brands of creativity and luxury, we started following fast fashion rhythms, because that is totally wrong, because creativity has a value and it's not expiring. So why also you need to have many collection going on sale? Because if you produce something that is good today and it's a high level, it will be good also next year and also in 5 years. So that should have been the reference for this kind of brands. The result of all this, what I want to tell you, is that the overproduction is today the cancer of fashion. We could define it like that, because there are so many volumes at all levels that we don't even know where to put them. It's not just about the outlet, the sales, even just to reuse. No, it's not possible producing so much. So we have all huge, cheap wardrobes. That is not a nice hobby anymore, even buying things, because when they're cheap quality, they become just an obstacle to our joy. I mean, we're unhappy when we see that after 3 times that we wash something in the washing machine, it's losing the fit, and it has all the little balls, you know, the woolly jumper. So we are aware that we have just fake dreams in our wardrobes. Fashion is super polluting. I chose this picture online. Sorry, there is also the that uncensored, because you know, especially in the big cities close to the production, where big companies are just dyeing all the fabrics and all the items. The rivers are colored, and all those colors usually are chemicals, toxic, so they affect the ecosystem of the river. In the best of the cases, they're fertilizers, for example, from the cotton fields, so they're just producing more greenery in the water. They're just taking out all the oxygen, so the fishes, in any case, they will die. This is a very bad thing, and Greenpeace took a position about this. They created a campaign against the fashion brands like Zara, asking for less toxic in their processes. Desertification is another topic. I don't know if you remember the sea Daral, which is in Asia, and it was the world's 4th largest lake in 1960. I'm talking about a huge lake there is in Uzbekistan, and you know, this sea has already shrunk to half of its size because of the farming of cotton. And it's incredible, because this was the result of an unsustainable cotton cultivation that began less than 40 years ago. So they were able just to take half of the size of that. You can see it if you do a research online about this. You can find the different pictures from NASA that are showing the difference of the dimension of the lake. So intensive farming, from cotton to livestock farming, also cows for leather, for example, and also sheep for wool in north of China or Mongolia. They are causing this desertification, and they're linked also to deforestation, because the 30% of our planet is covered in trees. You know, they're absolutely essential for our ecosystem, and deforestation is linked, for example, of course, for monoculture, for food, but also about mining, oil, gas, and also, as I said before, livestock farming. There are some brands that they ban the leather coming from Brazil because, for example, most of the production of leather in Brazil is effectively linked to deforestation. So you see that there are so many problems, and another one, which is also very important, it's about microplastic, because you must know that in fashion, more or less the 70% of the items are made with polyester. Polyester is coming from fossil fuel, and it's not biodegradable. It's shedding, it's releasing microplastic every time you wash it in the machine, and so is affecting just the waters and ending to be in the ocean. So even fishing, they're just eating it, and unfortunately, plastic is even on our daily menu. So I know I'm giving you today lots of bad news. I mean, there is nothing to be happy about, but I mean, where there are, and also there is another big problem that is about the end of life, because till this moment, I have to say that in my career, most of the time people were talking about materials, so raw materials, the origin of the raw materials, and the impact of raw materials, because in a fashion items, the value of that in terms of emissions and the impact is about the 80%. So it's basically it's the thing that is counting most, but nobody considered for a long time the effect of the overproduction and all the items that were just throwing out the window. So where do all the garments go at the end of their life? You see, there are two bad pictures here. One is just showing you that the garbage that is ending in the general garbage is ending to be burned, incinerated. The other part that is just maybe donated is starting a long trip. And you know, some of that is just resold in Africa, and but at the end of that, in any case, it's abandoned in the middle of nowhere. It could be in Ghana or in Chile, just in the middle of an area where there is no cities and it's just desert or mountain or nature. And there are documentaries about that. You should do a research and watch something, because it's scary. And yeah, abandoned. And as I said, most of the items, they're made also with not biodegradable materials. So it's not just about cotton or about wool that is maybe absorbed after 5 years from the ground, but it could stay decades just abandoned. Also, again, all the colors, toxic, can just enter the ground, and the poisoning also the land. So this is just the frame about fashion, and that was environmental, but there is also more, because fashion is not just very harmful to the planet. Fashion is even worse for people. I'm just showing you this picture. You can see there is a logo here, Shein. I've taken this picture from Business of Fashion, and you know, probably most of you read it on the newspaper. There's been, just in the recent days, there's been a huge scandal about this, because they did a reportage about just not revealing their identity. Of course, they entered in a factory that is producing for Shein, and they discovered that the people are paid 3 or 4 cents per item. They're producing at least 150 items per day. They work 7 days per week, 18 hours a day, and they have just 1 day of holiday every month. If they make mistakes, they're punished, obviously with a cut of their salaries, and this just ended to be on the newspaper. So it's really unacceptable. It already happened something about that, even worse, because there were dead people. In 2013, I don't know if you remember, the Rana Plaza in Bangladesh, a factory, collapsed, and unfortunately, more than 1,000 people died in that occasion. But there was another thing very sad about that the Western brands involved in the production, they didn't know they were producing in that factory. This is why the supply chain of these global companies are very complex. Sometimes they even don't know what they are producing, and also when they just have huge volumes, because you know that, for example, in a couple of days there will be Halloween. All these chains, they're producing capsule collection. So maybe they're asking for big volumes with a short deadline. So the people desperate in Bangladesh, they say, okay, we must do that, because otherwise they're losing the client, they're losing the job. but they know they're not respecting the deadline. So what they do is calling someone else, so a sub-supplier, and they're just giving the job to this sub-supplier. And sometimes this doesn't have just the basic condition of safety for their buildings and for their just working environment. So this was just to tell you something about the social side of fashion from 2013, that big tragedy just took to the fashion revolution, a big movement of activism that changed a lot the awareness in the consumers, but not enough, because today McKinsey just did a recent study in London, and they said that the young generation, probably also you, are, yes, much more in sustainability. They are driven by sustainable values, but at the same time, they're still the generation that is buying more than ever. Consider that Shein revenue is Zara and H&M put together. It's much more. So it's incredible, and the cost per item are even cheaper. So it's incredible what's happening, because from one side, it's like we are aware of what's happening, but from the other side, we're not taking action because our lifestyle is that one. And in a way, people are keeping on buying, unfortunately. So all this very complex supply chain is revealing also a lack of traceability and transparency. Just to end just the description of our beautiful fashion industry. So that was quite impressive. But as I said, where there are challenges, there are also opportunity. I mean, we are in a situation where we can really change things, but we need to want that, as I said. So we have to stop. First of all, it's not just making little adjustment that we will change the situation. We need a total change in the way we think, we live, and we operate the business of fashion. To solve big problems like climate change, waste, and pollution, obviously, we need a big idea. It's time to rethink how we design, first of all. So designers, just listen. Make and use the things we need, from food to clothes. Together we can create a better future for business, society, and the natural sources. What if we could switch from a linear economy to a circular one? And that's the point. Now we're introducing the second concept of our webinar. So the linear economy is very simple. I take from nature raw materials, I transform them, I'm making products, and then at the end of the life, I dispose the products in the bin, and that's it. So basically, I'm using something that is a completely waste because if it's not a renewable sources, I'm losing it forever. In a circular economy, we have a circle because I take the resources, I make my product, I use my product, I reuse my product, I extend the life of my product as much as I can, and just at the end of the life of the product, I recycle the product and I transform that in something that will be something similar or something completely different, because in circular economy, all the industries and all the systems are linked together. There is a connection, just like humans, we're all connected in this world. So the one on the left, you see on a boat, is Ellen MacArthur. Ellen MacArthur is an incredible woman. In 2005, she became the fastest solo sailor to sail around the world. So she was just sailing like that, like in that picture, alone and thinking and observing the nature, maybe seeing plastic in the ocean and just realizing spending 71 days alone at the sea, confronted by the awesome power of nature, she began to ponder the fragility also of the system that we built. So she came back and she spoke to economists, consultants, teachers, and she started pushing, she started promoting with all her soul and her forces just to shift the system from a linear to a circular, because she noticed that we are using this limited supply, and think also about, for example, the metals that they are in our phones or in our computer. It's not just all about fashion, it could be the cement in our building. The city's emissions, the city impact is about the 40% of the emission, the total emission. So we have to think about this circularity in all the topics that our lifestyle and economy. So she said that in our current economy, we take materials from the earth, make products from them, and eventually throw them away as waste. So the process is linear, as I said. In the circular, we stop waste, first of all, which is already good news. And after that, we also circulate the products and the materials. So if, of course, we need to track them, so they need to have like a passport. We need to know what's inside the things, but then all this is just circulating. And also we are able to regenerate nature doing this, because you can, adopting this system, at the end, you're also able to regenerate nature. All of this obviously is underpinned by transition to renewable energy. You can speak about circularity, but if you're still using carbon and fossil fuels, you understand that it's not really reaching the goals. So a circular economy decouples economic activity from the consumption of finite resources. So this is a good idea both for the business and for nature, and also for humans. So let's see some of that. So let's go back. We have to go back first to the bad state of things in fashion, and let's see how putting in fashion those principles we can fix the system. So let's go on. So estimates from consulting firms like McKinsey and the World Economic Forum suggest that the number of garments produced each year has at least doubled since 2000. So this is scary. Doubled since 2000. And only a fraction of what is manufactured gets recycled. They're talking about just 1%. The 87% of the total fiber input used for clothing is incinerated or sent to a landfill. So there is a huge, huge work to do in this. And also there will be law and regulation they will have to support us, because, for example, in Europe, by 2025, clothes must be, at the end of life, must be managed just as paper or plastic. So there will be just containers that are just taking all the clothes, because we cannot just send them in the general waste or risking that they're ending in a landfill. So also a little research from Bloomberg recent that is saying another scary data that is about US throwing away 70 pair of pants per person. And that is incredible, because it's showing you that overproduction that we're talking about, because we just see the iceberg of the clothes, the one we have. There are much more that we have no idea about the volumes. And studies have shown people throw out clothing after wearing items an average of 7 or 10 times. There are even people in UK. There was another study that was saying that teenagers, they were just throwing out items even with the tag. So it means that they're going to Primark the Saturday, maybe because they're going to a disco the evening, and picking up 3 or 4 items because they're cheap, and then not loving them, not respecting them. And at the end, maybe of the month or after a season, they just find those items and they just don't care. They just put them in the garbage. So that's very sad, because it's resources and work from people. So I said to you already that they're made of polyester, the synthetic fiber derived from petroleum. And so the question is, what if instead of wasting and throwing away clothes, we could work out how to extend their lives as much as we can, and at the end, recycle them? So there are, from the book L'impresa moda responsabile di Francesca Romana Rinaldi and Salvo Testa, she's a professor of Bocconi University, so someone passionate about economy in the proper way, there are the 14 circular activities in the circular value chain. So I will just mention them, like, of course, eco-design, raw material sourcing with circular inputs, manufacturing products, transport and logistics, distribution and retail, and at the end of life. Of course, everything must be managed at a level of waste, because we need absolutely to reduce the waste. So our trip, our journey is starting with eco-design. Eco-design is very, very important today, because without a new generation of designers able to conceive the products already in a circular vision, we're not able to shift the system. So eco-design is creating products that last longer and are designed with the end in mind. The final goal of a circular approach is extending the use of products and materials with their maximum value, reducing their environmental impact during their whole life cycle. So what do you do to do the eco-design? What are the elements that are making the eco-design? So durability, which is very important. Most of the items we buy today, they're very cheap. Reusability, repairability, and recyclability at the end of life. You must also choose materials recycled or from renewable sources, eliminating toxic chemicals and microfiber releases. So we already said, but we have to remind this because it's very, very important. Also, you should know that blended materials are not currently recyclable, or at a very pilot level. So if you can, you should choose just one material, because for example, the blend, I was reading today that there is the blend very common, which is polyester and cotton. Even if you check your t-shirt, your cotton t-shirt, you think it's 100% cotton. No, probably it's not. There will be a part of polyester in most of the cases. And that could be recyclable, but it's not becoming another t-shirt. It will become a downcycled material used for example, for the inside of the pillows, for example. So padding, basically. So this so it's better choosing just one material. Also, modular solutions are very smart. Modularity is another concept about eco-design. Thinking about the product that is made with many small parts that are adjustable, repairable, changeable, and so that it could be very smart. And also, if you have like a modular wardrobe, you can also put together things in a different way, or add an item to a dress that is so is just looking differently the next season. These images are from Flavia La Rocca, which she was a pioneer in modular design in fashion. And yes, I met her, I think the first time in 2008 or something like that. And she was also winning the prize of Camera Nazionale della Moda, the green carpet. She's a very nice person also. Now we talk about on-demand production, because the system is super sick. I mean, they're producing an incredible amount of product and then they're selling them. And what's unsold, it's a problem. Obviously, they produce a lot because the most you produce, lower prices you will get. But this is completely sick. If we were just able to reverse the system and just making samples, selling the products, and once we have the order, just going on with the production, with the made to order, we would be able to be much more efficient and not to have any problem with the overproduction. Obviously, the thing is that the final consumer will have to wait, which is a change of culture that we need to push, because this thing that we cannot wait 2 seconds is not possible with this system. Extending the life cycle, how we can do that? If quality and durability are 2 essential conditions, we have a series of other tools to extend the life of the garments. For example, repairing services. I just put you the Restory. The Restory is, check it also on Instagram, it's amazing. I mean, they're just repairing all these luxury items by hand, sewing, painting, just yes, repairing details, shoes, bags, accessories, I would say most of them. But even like knitwear, you know, when there are big holes, but you have a cashmere jumper that is valuable. It's nice also repairing it in the proper way, because you don't want to have a jumper that is looking bad. So rental, subscription, and leasing. For example, you have a wedding the day after tomorrow. Why buying a new dress when you know that you will just wear it for that occasion? So maybe renting it is the answer. Or the e-commerce. This is a huge trend right now, because there are even the luxury brands are just trying to rebuy their own items to resell them, because the second-hand market is becoming huge. And then the peer-to-peer platform. It means the platforms where us, final consumers, are just sharing the pre-loved items, garments and accessories, and are just selling them to other final consumers. I put Depop or Vinted, but also Vestiaire Collective, for example, is part of those. So waste management, I think we are late, I'm trying to speed up. Waste management, transport, and also the logistic are very important. So they must be they must promote better practices to reduce their impact of the activities during the whole circular process. I'm sure that you're wondering, all these items are traveling a lot all around the world. I'm sure that you are just wondering how you can just impact less if you're just not using electric vehicle all the time. And I can say that there are programs just to compensating the emission that you are producing with the logistic and the transport. So the end of life, we said recycling and regeneration. Upcycling is when through the process you are getting a even more quality material, and downcycling is, it was the example of before, when from a t-shirt you're getting just a material that you're using inside, for example, the pillows, or for the sole of the sneakers, they're becoming just the pavement for the kids' parks, you know, when there is that soft pavement, if they're falling, they're not breaking their bones. So have we any obstacle in all this shift? Of course we have obstacles, of course, big obstacles. The cost to remodel all the business. Recycling technologies, they're not mature yet. In many cases, we have the solution, but they're not scalable yet at an industrial level. Lack of infrastructure. And also new sustainable competencies, new designers that are thinking in a sustainable way, or just engineers, environmental engineers and chemical people, sustainable managers. We have to educate an whole generation of new competencies. And also cultural resistance, because inside and outside the company, there could be people that are just not interested in doing this change. They just feel, rigid. They don't adapt. So we need, again, to involve them to build a culture of the company. And sorry, I was going back. Okay, we have also positive sides. So reputation, if a company is just entering this program with a serious roadmap about sustainability and circular economy, reputation will be good. You have to be careful, because the opposite side of reputation is greenwashing. So don't say things that you are not doing. Also, you will have opportunities. New opportunities are coming out, partnerships with other companies, new jobs, and also the decreasing of cost in the medium to long term. What it's very hard at the beginning, because it's costing the company a lot, in the medium and long term, it will save a lot of resources and money. Also, we have technology. Technology is very important right now, because it's a good tool for transparency. So there is this digital passport right now, where everyone is talking about putting in this digital passport with all the blockchain technology, all the information you need to know. So you know everything about who made the item, what's inside the item, how long ago it was produced, the owners of the items, and at the end of life, it will be also easier recycling it. Of course, this is also a good strategy against people that are making the fakes. And for Made in Italy, it's something very important. At the end of everything, I just put some designers, some case histories of designers very sustainable. I'm not saying they're circular, because it's to be circular, fully circular, is very difficult at the moment. We still have to implement lots of logistic and things. But this designer, they won prizes, and they're upcycling materials, and they're just doing their best to be sustainable. One is Kevin Germanier. Is from Swiss, and it's incredible because he's using all these beans. They are recycled, Swarovski recycled, and so it's an example about sustainability as joyful, because for a long time sustainability was just, brown and beige and very sad, because also natural, of course, dyeing and stuff like that, they're less brightful than the regular one. So this is a good example of what it should be, because people are buying things if they're attractive, if they're sustainable and circular, but they're not attractive, they will be just a waste of time, because people won't buy them just because they're good for the planet, I'm sure that you agree. And also, I put some case histories about materials. So Mantero Resilk, from the discard of the silk production in Como in Italy, there is this company that just patented a new system, putting together and recycling all the discard of the production, and then they found out a new material that has a different touch. It looks a little bit more cashmere than silk, but it had a huge success with the customers. So they're going on with this project. Aquafil is the company of Renylon, the nylon regenerated that also Prada is using. Is a company that is producing nylon, and from nylon they just switched to a sustainable and circular approach. They're getting rugs and also the fish nets from the abandoning the lakes and at the seaside, and from that they're just transforming them in a circular process and getting another nylon, which is also Econil, probably you know exactly also this brand. Candiani Denim is making like jeans and denim. It's working a lot also with the biodegradable denim. They did tries just putting the denim in the ground under burying the denim to see with just a yarn of polyester to see that everything was just disappearing in 6 months, and it was like that. They just found the yarn of polyester, so they produced this Coreva denim. And also Tencel, Fulgar, Ciclica is a leather, completely sustainable, and orange fiber, which is kind of a material like silk, but is coming from the discards of the juices of oranges production in Sicily. So this is just some example. I put Marine Serre, of course, from Paris, because she was the winner of LVMH prize in 2017, but it's good because she's using 50% of her materials are recycled or coming from like upcycled, coming from a sources that is completely sustainable. So it's very good. And also it's another example about creativity, because she's super cool, and she's good in putting together sustainability with creativity. Creativity must be the key. So that's it. There is still another example, Vernice from Milano, 2 girls, they were working in luxury, and I put it because they were working in luxury, saying that there was a lot of waste even in luxury, because if fast fashion is producing too many items, luxury is just producing too many samples to reach the quality they want. So they were quite impressed from that. They just left their jobs and they opened this maison. Is made to order and are using vintage fabrics. So that is another. And then the last example, ACBC sneakers. They have an eco design, and they have responsible materials, and they had the idea to build a modular sneakers where the sole is just you can separate the upper part and the sole, and you can just substitute them, or having much more models of sneakers just all in one. They're collaborating with luxury maisons and luxury groups, and they have a good research and development office about responsible materials. So if you want to find out, you can also then do the research by yourself. I think that I'm finished. What I wanted, 2 things I wanted to say to conclude. The first one, that we achieved many solutions, but we're far from implementing them in the system, in the whole system. And to do that, we still need to work together. Together is just the key word. We need to have partnership, and also we need the support of regulations and the governments, because if there are rules, it will be easier. And the second thing is something about us, the consumers. I just wanted to end with a phrase from Vivienne Westwood, that you all know, about buying less, choosing well, and making it last. Because every time we're buying something, we are like little drops in the ocean, but it's something that it's valuable and having an effect. So thank you so much. If there are questions,
thank you so much, Chiara. Now I'm here. We are open to the hour, so I didn't want to interrupt you in order to let you finish and to explain all the things that you had there in your sleeve. As a matter of fact, there is a lot of congratulations, and everybody is quite happy about your presentation. Everybody is speaking and writing about many examples that the things that are happening, for example, here in our side of the world. But I'm pretty much afraid that we must say goodbye in order that we have the hour and we have to continue with the programmation. So I want to thank you very much about it. Everybody is quite happy with it. and we will see all these kind of improvements being implemented in the world. I also want to say thank you to NABA, Nuova Accademia di Belle Arti. Es la universidad privada más grande e innovadora de Italia, reconocida por el Ministerio de Educación italiano, el MIUR. Está dentro del top 100 de las mejores universidades de arte y diseño del mundo, según el QS Ranking 2021. Y pues esta presentación precisamente estaba a cargo de esta escuela. Muchísimas gracias, Chiara. Y yo solo me resta pues agradecerle a todos nuestros patrocinadores, que tenemos entre ellos a Natuzzi Italia, Essilor Luxottica, Artemide, Bulgari, Amoretti Brothers, Alfapar, Ferrari, Davide Groppi, Yamamay, United Colors of Benetton, Seña, Fernet Branca, SMEG, Cartel, Ferrero, Orfe México, a nuestros aliados institucionales en México, el Instituto Politécnico Nacional, el TEC de Monterrey, la Universidad de Anáhuac, la UNAM, Facultad de Artes y Diseño, el Instituto de Cormo, la Universidad Iberoamericana, la Sociedad Dante Alighieri, el FIDER, Class Education, y por supuesto a las universidades italianas que nos permiten hacer este encuentro gracias a la buena voluntad de la Embajada de Italia y de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México. Muchísimas gracias a todos, muchísimas gracias una vez más a Chiara Tronville y nos veremos aquí en la siguiente sesión, que esto será alrededor de la 1 de la tarde, 13:03, ya saben, es el ABC del diseño de coches italiano por parte de la Escuela Politécnica de Milán. Y vamos a estar hablando de los coches, así que se preparen su rum, rum, para que al rayo McQueen nos veamos aquí con más información. Muchísimas gracias.